What is the weirdest status symbol you know of that only makes sense in a very specific subculture? Calculators in the engineering field. The more vintager and functioning, the betterer. Braces in Thailand. During the mid-19th century and on into the early 1900s, ancient Egypt was all the rage in England. This was thanks to a steady flow of interesting archaeological finds from the area, the legend of King Tut's curse, etc. Some call it England's Egyptomania phase. One crazy way you could show off how much money you had was to actually buy an ancient Egyptian mummy and have an unwrapping party. People would literally come over to your house, get wasted, and unwrap an ancient corpse in your living room. I'll stick to potlucks. Thank you. Fine china. It's an older generation thing that I just don't understand. Why would I want plates I can't eat off of? For the people who've really made it in the tech industry, it's a weird status symbol to be a complete freaking slob about something. Some guys with a big fancy title make a point to wear dirty old white t-shirts riddled with holes because they can or not wear shoes or not trim their facial hair ever, or some crap like that. It's not uncommon to see some homeless looking guy hop into his Tesla at the Whole Foods. There used to be this joke on Google campus where there are Google owned bicycles lying around for employees to use that it was impossible to tell if you spotted a homeless guy stealing a bike or if it was a distinguished engineer going to a meeting. Possessing a current daily newspaper. My family has sailed for decades out of the same remote Great Lakes town. There is one shop that sells one stack of newspapers from a major metropolitan area. If you want one, you haul ass at o'clock in the morning a mile uphill, sometimes having to race others. The internet is a thing there now, but Wi-Fi is spotty as well as cell service, so physical news is still important. Should you obtain a newspaper, you get the first right to read and are the only one who can cut or tear things out of it. You also get to decide if and who gets to read it after you, maybe even in what order. If someone wants the coupons or the crossword, they have to do you a favor. Among mathematicians, chalk. The most renowned professors in my university have their own chalk. One guy imports it from Japan. Others use special colored chalk, but no one wants to be caught using the crappy chalk left around. All-inclusive bracelets. Trashy people in Poland wear them after coming back from holidays abroad to show others they could afford it. Leaving the tags on accessories. I shop the clearance section, so this doesn't work for me. Holes in your shoes from doing ollies used to be a thing in skateboarding. Then you would tape up the hole with duct tape. I got called a poser for taping my shoe first after I went through a couple pairs. Skated around with a bunch of freaking shoe barons, I guess. Eater, holy buckets, y'all. I've never gotten more than 3 upvotes on an AskReddit. I've read every reply and I think I upvoted everyone. If I didn't, it's just an accident. As far as Shugu goes, when I started skateboarding, Powell Peralta was the biggest brand. Bones Brigade. We knew about Shugu from Thrasher magazine, but it wasn't at every Walmart like it is now, mainly because Walmart didn't exist. The kids who had it got it at skate shops, and those were also the kids who could afford new shoes because that crap was expensive back then. One guy in my crew figured out that aquarium glue works just about the same. Another guy used some kind of cork. We made do. Spent our money on boards and hospitals. Party hats. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know how rare they are and how valuable they are in RuneScape. Anything Supreme. I know a kid that spent $200+ on a Supreme brick. For anybody not in the know, no, that isn't a slang term for a mysterious item. It's a freaking single clay brick with the Supreme logo stamped into it. Black Lotus card. Salt life stickers on cars in the Midwest. We don't even have an ocean. The Midwest is landlocked. What kind of salt life are y'all living? At one point I owned 8 of the Power 9 Magic, the Gathering cards. The only one I didn't have was a Mark's Ruby, because I didn't play red and had no use for it. They were all beta, and all but one had been professionally graded or in gradable condition. My Time Walk had somewhere from use. This is not at all impressive to 99.9999% of the population, but to that 0.0001% it is really freaking impressive. Cauliflower ear. It's a kind of permanent black belt that gives you ugly ears, but shows your experience in martial arts. Old, beat up subs and vulvas among the wealthy. Shiny Pokemon. There are people who sit for hours hunting a specific Pokemon. The White Lotus pay showpiece. Gold edit. I seriously didn't expect this, guys. I love me some Atla memes and this thread has turned into one big one. Cling to the ancient ways, my friends. Cloth diapers. Seriously. There's collectors and retired or hard to find prints sell for a lot of money. I've sold some for over $100, but no friends who have gotten much more. So a stash shot of rare diapers is a status symbol with people who know the value. Kickstarter edition board games for board gamers. It's not a huge like, OMG, you're so cool kind of thing, but there's definitely, like, a certain prestige to having a special limited edition board game from Kickstarter. Same thing with people buying replacement crap for the board games. Like, instead of the accessories that come with the game, they pay to upgrade them to get a higher quality. A full Keith tray. Most people just think you're some pothead, but other stoners recognize you as a paragon of patience and self-control. Very specific vintage watches. Something like a Hamilton spur. Only other watch collectors will know if that specific watch is valuable. Everyone else just sees an old watch. In the ultra-marathoning world, running races longer than the standard 26.2 miles. Running a 100-mile race in under 24 hours is a pretty big deal. A lot of these races even give out specialized versions of the Finishers Award to anyone who goes sub 24. Your ball-jointed dolls are recasts? HMPH. A 1986 Toyota Sprinter Truno. Normies just see a crappy 30-year-old Corolla with the driver on the wrong side. Nerdy car guys know that it's $12,000 of automotive icon. Team Fortress 2 player here. I once unboxed, posted, and traded a Stormy Storm Dragonborn helmet, an in-game cosmetic hat you could equip to your heavy, 2 days after the hat was released, for $450 to buy groceries and pay the rent that month. It was the third key I'd ever bought. I never bought another one. And my wife, then girlfriend, still thinks I sold drugs or something to come up with the money that fast. It absolutely turned our year around. How about those tribes in Africa/Asia that decided to stretch their necks out with brass rings? The longer the neck, the higher the status. That's peace range. Did someone say Thunder Fury? Bless Blade of the Windseeker? But seriously, that or the Warglaives of Azimuth are still status symbols in WoW. Even 6, nearly 7, expansions later. Warlord class Titan from Forge World. It's cheaper to dress your kid up in a robot costume and have them stand real still on a game table than buy one of these resin monstrosities. Renaissance Fire handmade custom boots. Because mine got stolen, and I'm still bitter. No, seriously, they're hundreds to thousands of dollars a pair. You get your foot put into a couple of pairs of athletic socks and they duct tape over that. Then cut along the outer seam to literally create the boots for you. They offer unlimited resoling. They give you the pattern to send to them when required. There is no other boot that is grippier on ice. And they just freaking rock. Bald Mountain made mine. I miss them so much. Owning an Eleiko barbell, or in a completely different field, having a battery grip and radio triggers for your DSLR. Designer water. I literally refilled the same glass Foss bottle with tap water for an entire semester and a classmate of mine was overheard saying that I'm very well off. Owning a Topper keyboard. Status only exists in mechanical keyboard circles. It's weird because it's rubber dome. Professional violinists often have a callous/hyperpigmented area of skin on the left side of their necks just under the chin due to the friction from constant practice. Getting to the violin hickey level was definitely a status symbol at the music school I went to before university, because you only get it after 3-4 hours of practice per day. Speaking fluent English has somehow become a standard against which success is measured in my community. Yeah, weird. Stadium events for Northeasts. A $10,000 video game cartridge which is identical to a $2 game called World Class Track Meet, except with a different title. Redone birdhouses. Redone makes this really basic ass pottery that for some unknown reason people like to sell online for like quadruple the price they bought it for. The birdhouses are like the holy grail of this crap, and the women who buy it will fight each other over them. Spectral Tiger Mount. Unless you could afford to buy a whole box of cards to get the mount, or got lucky, it's one of the rarest mounts in WoW. Red Octobers. Back when I was with Nike released a sneaker that is now $5,000, $10. 000 resale value depending on your shoe size. Bikes. Specifically what the frame is made of, aluminum, steel, carbon, titanium, and whether or not you built it yourself. Basically, if you ride a stock aluminum fixie, nobody respects you. Even if you're an amazing rider, you're just a fixie fool. Personally, I have to try not to come all over steel bikes with carbon forks. I went to boarding school as a teen/kid, where you did your laundry yourself. Our uniforms were maroon skirts/trousers and blue and white striped shirts. Eek. The color of the skirt/trousers ran when you washed them, and we were explicitly told to make sure the whites in our shirts were white. However, we would wash them together anyways, resulting in pink and blue striped shirts. And sometimes, to accelerate the aging process, you would iron your damp skirt on top your damp shirt to make sure it ran. The pinker it was, the cleaner and cooler you were. It meant you did laundry often, etc. Every once in a while, teachers would go around during an assembly with permanent markers/sharpies, and if your shirt was too pink, you would get multiple big X's to force you to retire it, and would have to go around school the whole day like that, supposedly in shame. However, this was somehow even cooler. To be used for pinkness, you wore it with pride, and then later proceeded to try and wash out the X marks, sometimes with enough luck and perseverance. Having 10 fingers, if you are a Yakuza, or I guess having tattoos and not constantly talking about them would work too. Starbucks coffee is an upper middle class/upper class thing in the Philippines, in a country where the minimum daily wage is $3 to $5. Buying coffee that would cost more than a day's worth of wage is ridiculous. Olympics pins during the Olympics Games. At the hosting city, people go absolutely bonkers about them, and I have seen valuables items such as expensive watches being traded in order to get rare pins. Cocaine Anonymous keychains. CA is like AA, but it's sort of for all drugs, at least in Phoenix. AA gives out chips which are actually coins, and CA gives out keychains that are shaped like coins. Anyways, these trinkets are given to recognize different lengths of sobriety. For example, you pick up your keychain that says 10 years when you get 10 years sober. Once you start getting a bunch of keychains, the previous years wear down, so the one you got at 4 years looks all janky and old, but your 10-year keychain looks nice and new. Not everyone cares, but if you have a bunch of worn out keychains, you're sort of respected as an old timer in 12-step meetings. I think it's a nice thing to be respected for. As a way of showing off, wealthy Chinese businessmen often buy rare and highly valuable old bottles of wine, but because they don't really care for the taste, they'll mix the wine with Coca-Cola. Reddit Gold. First time I got it, I got a message saying I can go to /r/lounge. I looked at it once and never went back. Silicon Valley. Wearing old t-shirts from pre-acquisition to flex your experience in the new parent company. Patagonia vests, Alberts, earpods, wearable tech, Tesla cars. Disc golfers talk about frisbees like fine wines. Certain discs that were molded in certain years are very sought after. 2007, 2010 USDGC rocks or KC Pro T-Birds can go for hundreds of dollars each. If you show up to a league match or a tournament with said discs, Firebirds, T-Birds, Valkyrie, molded in 2002, 2003, you are guaranteed to have several people comment on your discs, mostly calling you crazy for even throwing them. I have 2 first run-in-over Star Destroyers with proto stamps. I've seen ones in good condition sell for $100 plus. Croixd candlestick buttons for Giants fans. You could only get them by staying through an extra inning candlestick night game. Owning bar fighter lures. The musky fishing community is a weird place, where rich guys will pay $250 for a 13-inch long wooden cylinder with hooks attached. The amount of times you have seen a single band, most important in the fish and Grateful Dead community, getting snapped and Thanos bestowing the chosen ones with snapped badges. A low-digit Steam ID. Owning a golden frying pan. Salesforce certifications and Salesforce MVPs. Club 33 member at a Disney theme park. Some Disney fans would go bonkers if they got invited into a Club 33 just to see one. It's like the holy grail for Disney fans. People beg online just to be invited for a special occasion in Disney forums, Twitter, etc. Disney has Club 33s in Disneyland, Shanghai Disney, Tokyo Disneyland, and Walt Disney World. Each location has its own separate membership. They do not transfer to each other. It's basically the highest level of status you can obtain as a fan of Disney theme parks. $50k initial fee. $15k year is the general cost to join each Club 33 location. Leaving Christmas gifts on the ground in Clash of Clans. Haven't played in a few years, but that used to be a thing. Burning Flames team captain. Pineapples. Back in the 1800s, I think, if there was a swanky party at someone's house in Charleston, SC, the host would put pineapples on the front porch and pillars of the gate. It was a hard to obtain, expensive fruit at the time and these wealthy people wanted to show off. Today the traditions still stand, but instead of the real fruit, you see pineapple sculptures on the pillars of the gate. On Garry's Mod, a sandbox modification for Half-Life 2, there was a cluster of servers called Noxious Net. Just absolutely amazing games all scripted together by the same person that were around for a good decade or so. You had a persistent profile showing all your achievements, stats, currency, etc. which applied to all of the Noxious Net servers. If you donated to the server, you would get an icon next to your name which would show up whenever you said anything in chat. Originally, it was just a single letter, G for gold. Later on, actual custom icons were made, like a diamond to show your later added diamond account status. The icon didn't update for anyone who previous had one, unless they specifically requested it. So a lot of people would just not donate anymore specifically to keep the old letter G by their name so everyone knew that they were cooler than them because they donated years ago and were true fans of the servers. Jokes on them, though, because the guy who made the servers eventually got tired of people not liking his new gamma mode changes and closed the whole thing down. So nobody gets to be elitist about their account age anymore. Having a foot-long peen makes sense in the 30 industry, but in real life, not so much. Twitter verified. Used to be for people likely to be imitated, so you know you're checking the official feed, but has turned into some weird award given for wokeness. Or 3 stamp rifle. You need ATF approval for features that are restricted by the National Firearms Act, and to get that approval, you buy a $200 tax stamp to cover the cost of an ATF agent doing nothing for 8 months, and then reading it over and giving you a background check. Or 3 stamp gun is likely to have parts for full auto fire, short barrel, and a suppressor. The latter 2 features are pretty commonly seen together, but full auto is a unicorn in the civilian market. Former pro musician here. A huge status symbol I can think of is anything made/modded, personally, by a guy named Bob Bradshaw. He's a legendary amp tech who's worked on /built stuff for U2, Green Day, Eddie Van Halen, the Foo Fighters, etc. He used to only work privately, but now runs a company called Custom Audio Electronics that makes stuff based on his designs that the public can buy. If someone has an amp with a Bradshaw lead mod or something, that either means they're pretty damn successful or just rich. Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut. It looks like any other N64 game, but sells for I think $300-400 bucks. Trading jerseys with teams all over the world. The more countries you can get, the better. If you are deaf, also having deaf parents can give you a sort of status. Deaf of deaf parents. First language is ASL. Hot stuff. In the beauty community, getting Macupe sent to you. If random people send me Macupe, I'd be pleased yet concerned how they got my address. First edition Blue Eyes White Dragon. Bare feet in Guild Wars 2. The invisible footwear skin is one of the rarest and most expensive armor skins in the game. Valued at 3000 G. For reference, you can farm at most 20-30 G per hour. It's the only way to hide your shoes other than playing without them equipped at all, which reduces your stats. To make matters worse, you have to unlock the invisible skin separately for each of the 3 armor classes. The D in French names. Instant status. In Warframe, having an Excalibur Prime, a founder exclusive shiny biomechanical battlesuit, a golden toothpick, you don't even use it on your teeth. In audio, owning Macintosh equipment shows you're at your end game, and you have money. I'm Comanchant. If I see someone with a lot of turquoise jewelry on, I'm like, whoa Nelly. Silver pipes mounted on a pin. Fancy German-made glass barns were the symbol of a well-off stoner back when I paid attention to such things. Or laser-etched metal dice for Dungeons and Dragons nerds. Some of them did look pretty cool though. Pot trimmers are really proud about their scissors. Permanent Cutterman's pin. 5+ years of sea time. Arctic service medal. 21 consecutive days of duty afloat or ashore north of the Arctic Circle if you're Coast Guard. Or dolphins if you're Navy. Submariner's pin, meaning you're fully qualified on the submarine systems. Or for both and other nautical services. The Order of the Shellback, crossing the equator line on a ship. There's also the Order of the Blue Nose, Order of the Red Nose, Ancient Mariner, Ancient Keeper, Ancient Trident, Ancient Albatross, etc. I won't launch into all the various orders and meanings as it would take multiple paragraphs, but Google some of them, or message me if you're curious to know more. Owning a boat. Here in Houston I see coworkers go broke in the money pit of owning a boat, even though they use it no more than 10 times a year. IDK, we are 1.5 or 2 hours from the Gulf, so boat storage is a necessity. IDK Watev. Yeti coolers and their swag. Having a white/green variegated monstera deliciosa plant. If you're a plant person, they're harder to care for and don't grow as fast as all green ones, so they're quite rare, in some parts of North America at least. On any plant trading forum everyone's always asking for them, and I'm betting just rooted cuttings of a mother plant will fetch a pretty penny. I have so many from architecture school. All the rich Asian international students had to get the $150 chopper for modeling material. That was basically just a cheese slicer with a slightly sharper blade. Then there are the biggest, fanciest cutting mats, the biggest, fanciest drafting boards, all of that stuff. You could easily spend thousands of dollars just on supplies alone, if you wanted the high end. Then there were the bastards who had a huge set of really expensive Copic markers and flaunted it with their drawings every chance they got. Me. Bitter. And the people who had really nice secondary monitors clipped to their desk that they would plug their very expensive laptops into. Just tons of subtle and not so subtle displays of wealth. In this pets in game called Flight Rising, there are pets you can own called familiars. Some of them are limited edition. The very first limited one to come out was the Light Sprite, and because it's so rare, people who have them are seen as elite or rich. They are very expensive to buy relative to the game. I think the last time I checked it was $601,000 of in-game currency for one. Black Qiraji Battle Tank. Chainring Scars. Mountain biking. Photography/film students engaging in competitions of who has the longest telephoto lens. Then the teacher comes in with his 400mm and put us in our place. Do you even have a Sabi if it's not blue? At this point, using vanilla beans instead of paste or extract in the baking world. Can't wait until the prices stabilize again. It's not really a sign of elevated status, but it definitely displays you are in a particular group. Luggage works bags for airline pilots and a specific travel pro bag for flight attendants. Probably 90% of US airline flight crews use the same bag, and it's very noticeable. You see someone walking through the airport or anywhere with their LW bag, you can pretty much be certain they are an airline pilot. We usually give each other the nod when we pass in the airport. I'll still give the nod to a dude in jeans and a t-shirt with a luggage work bag. When I was a teenager, I remember there were those plastic bracelets you could get at Hot Topic that were supposed to represent sexual things you've done. That was pretty freaking weird. Patch jackets in metal. The more you have that people don't recognize, the better it's deemed to be. Snap-on tools as a mechanic. There's some drama in the vegan community right now about who deserves to be called vegan and who needs to be demoted to plant-based. It's been ridiculous. Apparently you're a bad person if you accidentally eat something with trace amounts of egg in it, or keep an old pair of leather boots you bought before you went vegan. Hat pins among wooks. Aka hippie bling. My copy of Sgt. Pepper, bought on the day of release, is in mono and still has all the cutouts in the inner sleeve. I have been offered a lot of money for it, but it is never going on sale. Teslas. Because nothing says I'm a 1%er, but you can't call me a rich jerk like a $120,000 luxury electric car. Virginia license plates with very low numbers. It's an old Richmond family thing that means your family has been in Richmond since license plates. For a while, the Walmart exclusive Black Widow slipcover of Winter Soldier was going for hundreds of dollars on eBay. There was a brief craze in the Blu-ray collecting community. It has plummeted in price since then due to oversaturation, and is no more pricey than any of the other 4 Walmart exclusive covers. I chose the Bucky one. I don't mind it now, but at the time I was furious with myself. I had held it in my hand and consciously decided to put it back and go with a Bucky slip for my shelf copy. Also double dip copies of anything in the Blu-ray/4K disc community. Collectors with 6 different editions of the same movie on 3 different formats due to certain exclusive bonus features. Steelbook or digibook packaging. Unique covers. Extras. etc. In the adult baby, little space, community, everyone wants an adult size crib. They're expensive and not many people sells the plans.